The phone slipped from her hand and hit the table. Zainab stared at the rent money in front of her, money she had barely scraped together. She had sold the family house. She had sold her late husband's provision shop. She had sold the gold and the small plot of land her mother left her. All of it had gone into one man's visa and one flight ticket to Australia. 10 months. Jamal had been in Perth for 10 months, and this was how he repaid a woman who gave up everything so he could prepare a home for her daughter. From the corridor, Amina appeared, a bucket of water still in her hand. "Mama, who was that?" Zainab could not speak. She only looked at her daughter, and something in that look made Amina set the bucket down slowly. "Mama, you're scaring me. What happened?" "Jamal is married," Zainab said quietly. "In Perth." The words hung in the small rented room like smoke that would not clear. Amina had been the one pushing hardest for the arrangement. She was the one telling her mother that Jamal was different, that this was their one chance at a better life abroad. Now that chance had a new wife's name attached to it, and neither of them had seen it coming. "Mama, what do we do now?" Zainab folded the notes slowly and placed them back in her purse. "I don't know yet, but we cannot stay here if we can't pay." This was the room they had rented earlier, back when things were simpler. It would stay their home for a long time to come still, through everything that was about to happen to them. Outside, a motorcycle horn blared. Somewhere, a child laughed, unaware that inside this small rented room, a woman's last hope had just ended with one phone call. By Friday, the landlord was already at the gate. Mr. Bello was a heavy man who walked slowly but talked fast, especially about money. "Madam Zainab, I have waited 2 months," he said, arms folded. "Rent is rent. I cannot eat patience." "Please, sir, give me 1 more week," Zainab said. "Something will come through." "You said that last week." He glanced past her at Amina, who was pretending to sweep a spot that was already clean. "Is it that visa man that will pay me? Where is he now, eh?" Zainab's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Mr. Bello sighed, softer now. "I am not a wicked man, but if I don't collect from you, my own family will suffer, you understand?" "I understand," Zainab said. He left without another word. It would not be the last time he stood at that gate, demanding, teasing, and eventually caring. As long as Zainab and Amina lived in that compound, Mr. Bello would be right there at the entrance, watching their story unfold. That evening, Amina sat beside her mother on the low bench outside their door. "Mama, I called Yusuf again. He said Jamal is not answering anyone's calls." "Of course he isn't. A man who abandons one family does not owe explanations to another." "I'm sorry, Mama," Amina's voice cracked. "I kept telling you to trust him. I kept saying he was different." "You are hoping for a good life for us. That is not a crime, Amina. Trusting the wrong man is not the same as causing his wickedness." But even as she said it, something in Amina's eyes did not believe her. A neighbor, old Mama Ruth, called out from her window. "Zainab, I heard rent trouble, they worry you people. Come, I get small soup, make you people chop something." Zainab managed a tired smile. "Thank you, Mama Ruth. God will bless you." "God will bless me if you bring back my empty plate this time," the old woman said. Despite everything, Amina laughed. It was a small laugh, but it was real. For a moment, the weight in the compound lifted. That night, Zainab lay awake staring at the ceiling, counting the days until the landlord returned. She had no shop anymore, no land, no gold, only a daughter who blamed herself and a debt that grew heavier by the hour. Somewhere across the ocean, Jamal was starting a new life. Here in Kano, in the same rented room they had always known, Zainab was fighting to keep the little that remained of her old one. Before we continue, if you are enjoying watching Zainab fight to rebuild everything she lost, take a second to like this video and tell us where you're watching from. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Rosa Tales for more unforgettable stories. Now, let's get back to it. Word of the marriage spread through the family faster than Zainab wanted. By Sunday afternoon, Amina's brother Ibrahim arrived with their aunt, Hajia Comfort. Both wore the expressions of people who had already decided whose fault everything was. "You sold the house," Ibrahim said, not even sitting down first. "Our father's house, for a man's visa." "I made a decision. It did not work. I know that now." "You know that now," Hajia Comfort repeated, shaking her head. "Now that the money is gone, now that we are the ones people will ask, is it true you are hopeless?" "Nobody said she's hopeless," Amina cut in, sharper than she intended. "She still has us." "Does she?" Ibrahim looked at his sister. "Because from where I stand, all I see is a woman who gambled everything on a stranger's promise." "He was not a stranger. He was my intended husband. She did what many mothers would have done." "Many foolish mothers, maybe." "Ibrahim," Hajia Comfort's voice cracked like a whip, surprising even Ibrahim himself. "That's enough." The room went quiet. Hajia Comfort turned to Zainab, her tone softening. "We are angry, yes, but anger will not pay your rent. What is your plan?" "I don't have one yet," Zainab admitted, "but I will find work, any work." Ibrahim scoffed. "At your age?" "At her age," Amina said, standing now. "She raised 2 children alone after her father died. She built a shop from nothing. She can build again." Silence again, this time heavier with something like respect. Hajia Comfort reached into her bag and placed a small folded envelope on the table. "This is not charity," she said firmly. "This is family helping family. Take it. Pay what you can to the landlord and Ibrahim will contribute something too." Ibrahim opened his mouth to protest, caught his aunt's sharp glance and closed it again. "Fine," he muttered. "I will send something tomorrow." As they left, Hajia Comfort paused at the door. "Zainab, whatever happens, you are not alone in this. Just, next time, ask before you sell your husband's house, eh?" Despite everything, Zainab almost smiled. "There will be no next time, Hajia. I promise you that." 2 weeks later, Zainab stood outside a small office building, reading the sign for the 3rd time. Sisters Rising Microfinance Initiative. She had heard about it from Mama Ruth, who heard about it from her niece, who heard about it from someone at the market. It was apparently where women who had lost everything sometimes found a way back. Inside, a woman at the front desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm here for work," Zainab said, suddenly unsure how to explain herself. "Any kind of work." Before the woman could answer, another voice cut in from behind. "We don't have a vacancy posted." Zainab turned to see a tall woman in a simple blue blouse, arms full of files, watching her with sharp, assessing eyes. "I was told this place helps women," Zainab said. "I need help finding my feet again." "What's your name?" "Zainab." "I'm Kate Okonkwo. I run this place." She set the files down. "Tell me, Zainab, what can you do?" "I ran a provision shop for 12 years. I know how to keep records, manage stock, handle customers, even difficult ones." Kate almost smiled at that last part. "And now?" "Now I have nothing. My husband's shop is sold, my savings are gone. I gave everything to a man who betrayed my family. I'm asking you for a chance, not pity." Something shifted in Kate's expression. Recognition, maybe, of a story she had heard too many times before. "Come back tomorrow morning," Kate said. 7 o'clock sharp. We'll see if you are serious." Walking home that evening, Zainab felt something she had not felt in weeks, a small, stubborn flicker of hope. She did not know yet that this small office and this sharp-eyed woman would change her life. The work was harder than Zainab expected. Filing forms, explaining loan terms to women who could barely read, calming clients who arrived angry because a payment had failed. By the end of her first week, her feet ached and her head throbbed, but something inside her felt steadier than it had in months. "You are a natural with the clients," Kate told her one afternoon, watching Zainab patiently explain a repayment schedule to a frustrated market woman. "Most new staff run from difficult customers. You lean in." "I used to run a shop," Zainab said. "Difficult customers taught me patience a long time ago." At home that evening, Amina noticed the change immediately. "Mama, you are smiling again." "Don't sound so surprised," Zainab said, though she was smiling. "I'm not surprised, I'm happy." Pause. "Can I ask you something? Do you regret it, everything with Jamal?" I regret trusting blindly. I do not regret wanting a better life for you. There is a difference, Amina. Amina looked down. I still feel like it's my fault. I pushed so hard for that marriage. You are hopeful. Hope is not a crime. Jamal's choices are his own weight to carry, not yours. Outside, Mr. Bello's voice rang out from the compound gate. Zainab, I heard you got work, oh. See as your face don't shine small. Just remember, shining face still needs to pay rent, eh? Amina burst out laughing, and even Zainab could not help but join her. 3 months into the job, Zainab met Blessing. She arrived at the office in tears, clutching a small child's hand and her husband's family threatening to seize the shop she had built with money saved over 10 years. They say because my husband traveled abroad, the shop belongs to his brothers now, Blessing said, voice shaking. I have receipts. I have proof I paid for everything. Nobody will listen. Zainab felt something tighten in her chest. Recognition not of the exact situation, but of the same helpless fear she once carried. Show me everything you have, Zainab said. Every receipt, every document. They walked through the evening, long after other staff had gone home, organizing Blessing's papers into a case Kate could take to the community leaders. This woman has done nothing wrong, Zainab told Kate the next morning. She needs someone to speak for her. Kate reviewed the documents, impressed. You put this together yourself? Blessing did the hard part. I just organized it. You are being modest. Come with me. You'll present this case yourself. Zainab's stomach dropped. Me? I've never spoken in front of community leaders. There's a first time for everything, Kate said simply. Besides, you understand her fear better than most lawyers would. The meeting was tense. Blessing's brothers-in-law argued loudly about tradition and family property. Zainab stood, hands trembling slightly, and spoke anyway. This woman saved every coin for 10 years. These receipts prove it. Taking her shop is not tradition. It is theft wearing tradition's clothes. The room went silent. An elder finally spoke. The young woman raises a fair point. Show us these receipts again. By the end of the meeting, Blessing kept her shop. For years, Zainab had been the woman things happened to. For the first time, she had been the woman who made something happen.
That same week, Amina fought a quieter war of her own. She had stopped attending lectures months earlier, telling herself there was no point continuing school when their whole world had collapsed. But watching her mother rebuild piece by piece stirred something uncomfortable inside her. Mama, can I ask you something? Do you think I should go back to school? Do you want to? I don't know. Every time I think about it, I remember I'm the reason we're in this mess. Maybe I don't deserve to build something for myself. Zainab reached across the table and took her daughter's hand firmly. Guilt is not a foundation for anything good. You cannot build a future by punishing yourself for a past mistake that was never entirely yours. But if I hadn't pushed so hard, then maybe something else would have gone wrong instead, Zainab interrupted. We don't know that, and torturing yourself with what-ifs will not build your future. The next morning, Amina walked back to her old campus, nervous, uncertain if she still belonged there. Her friend Ndidi spotted her immediately. Amina, everyone thought you dropped out completely. I'm thinking of coming back. Thinking? Girl, just come back already. That evening, Amina told her mother the decision. I'm going back, Mama. Law. I want to study it properly this time. Zainab's eyes filled with quiet pride. Why law specifically? Amina thought about Jamal, about Blessing's shop almost stolen by greedy relatives, about every woman like her mother who trusted the wrong promise. Because someone needs to close the loopholes that let men like Jamal disappear so easily. I want to be that someone. 2 years passed, each one steadier than the last. Zainab now managed an entire unit at Sisters Rising. She trained new staff, reviewed dozens of loan applications weekly, and spoke confidently at community meetings without her hands trembling anymore. Amina, meanwhile, had returned fully to law school. Her name now appeared on the dean's list. Her old confidence sharpened into something more focused. One afternoon, Kate called Zainab into her office, an unusual seriousness in her expression. Sit down, Zainab. I want to talk to you about something important. Is something wrong? Not wrong, Kate said. The board wants to expand our reach into 3 new communities. I need someone to lead the expansion, someone who understands these women's struggles firsthand. Who did you have in mind? Kate looked at her directly. You, Zainab. Me? Kate, I started filing papers here 2 years ago. And now you're the person newer staff come to for guidance. You've earned it, whether you see it yet or not. Zainab sat quietly, overwhelmed. I never imagined this. 2 years ago, I couldn't imagine surviving the month, let alone leading anything. That's exactly why you're right for it, Kate said. You know what these women are running from. Most program directors only know it from textbooks. That evening, Zainab shared the news with Amina over dinner, in the same small room they had lived in since before all of this began. Mama, that's incredible. Program director. I'm nervous. What if I fail these women? You won't, Amina said firmly. You've spent 2 years proving exactly the opposite. Their neighbor, Mr. Bello, popped his head through the doorway, uninvited as usual. I hear say congratulations they happen for this house today. News travels fast, Zainab said, laughing. Very fast, he agreed. Almost as fast as rent used to disappear from your account, eh? But no vex, that's finished story now. Later that night, alone in her room, Zainab allowed herself a rare, quiet moment of pride. She had rebuilt something real from wreckage, not through revenge, not through bitterness, but through steady, patient work. Somewhere across the ocean, Jamal was living whatever life he had chosen. Here in Kano, in the same rented compound where it had all fallen apart, Zainab was finally living the one she had built for herself. 3 years after that phone call, Amina stood at the front of a university auditorium, delivering a valedictory speech to her graduating law class. When I started this journey, I carried guilt like a stone in my chest. I believed I had broken my mother by encouraging her trust in the wrong man. The hall was silent, listening. My mother taught me something instead. Guilt built nothing. Purpose did. She turned her pain into a program that has helped over 60 women avoid the very trap that nearly destroyed us. In the third row, Zainab wiped her eyes, unable to hide her pride any longer. After the ceremony, Ndidi found Amina outside, grinning widely. Miss Valedictorian, please remember us small people when you become a big lawyer. You call yourself small? You argued with 3 lecturers this semester alone. That's called healthy debate, Ndidi said, feigning offense, and they both laughed. Later, over a modest celebration dinner, Amina turned serious again. Mama, I've decided what area of law I want to practice. Immigration fraud, cross-border marriage scams. I want to help close the loopholes men like Jamal used to disappear. Zainab studied Amina carefully. This is not revenge dressed as career, is it, Amina? No, Mama, this is turning our story into something useful, like you did. Kate, who had joined them for the celebration, raised her cup. To turning pain into purpose, both of you have earned this moment. Mr. Bello, uninvited as usual, leaned through the compound gate with a grin. I hear say another celebration dey happen for this house again, no? Una don turn celebration house. Come and join us then instead of just supplying commentary, Zainab said, laughing. I no go reject food, he said, settling onto an empty stool immediately, and even Amina couldn't hold back her laughter this time. Later that night, alone in her room, Amina reflected on how far she and her mother had come. 3 years earlier, she carried silent guilt over a marriage that ended before it began. Now she carried a law degree, a clear purpose, and a mother's strength had quietly rebuilt everything they lost. Somewhere across the ocean, Jamal remained a distant memory, a lesson rather than a wound.
2 more years passed, steady and full of quiet victories. Zainab now sat in the director's office at Sisters Rising, her name printed clearly on the door. Kate had stepped back into an advisory role, trusting the organization's daily running fully into Zainab's hands. 5 years, Kate said one afternoon, visiting the office she once ran alone. 5 years since you walked in here asking for any kind of work. I still remember how frightened I was that day. Kate said you didn't look frightened, you looked determined. I was terrified. I simply had nowhere else to direct that fear. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock. A young staff member peeked in nervously. "Ma, there's a woman outside. Her husband's family is trying to seize her business, similar to Blessing's case years ago." Zainab stood immediately, old instincts sharpening. "Bring her in and pull the file from Blessing's case. We'll use the same approach." By evening, another woman's business was saved, another family's small empire protected. At home, in the same compound Mr. Bello still watched over, Zainab reviewed the day quietly with Amina, who was now preparing case files for her new position at a legal aid firm. "We're building a case against 3 agents who've been running fake visa schemes similar to Jamal's," Amina said. Zainab paused. "Does his name still sting when you say it?" "Less than before. It feels more like a case study now than a wound." That night, reviewing 5 years of growth, Zainab allowed herself a moment of stillness. She did not yet know that soon her past would return, not for revenge, but for one final, unexpected reckoning. The letter arrived on an ordinary Tuesday morning, plain and unremarkable, except for the sender's name, Ladi, Jamal's mother. Zainab stared at the envelope for a long moment before opening it, old memories rising uninvited. "Dear Zainab, I know I have no right to reach you after everything, but I write to you as a mother, not as Jamal's family. My son is sick, very sick. Cancer, the doctors say, and it is advanced. His wife left him months ago before the diagnosis even came. He is alone in Perth, and he has asked to speak to you and Amina before it is too late. I understand if you refuse. I only ask that you consider it." That evening, she showed the letter to Amina, watching her daughter's face carefully as she read. "He's dying," Amina said quietly, setting the letter down. "And now he wants to talk. How do you feel about that?" "Angry still, somewhere underneath everything, but also curious, and maybe a little sad even after everything he did." "That's allowed," Zainab said. "Complicated feelings don't cancel each other out." "What do you want to do, Mama?" "I don't need anything from him anymore," Zainab said slowly. "Not money, not apology, not explanation. But perhaps he needs something from us." "Closure?" "Perhaps. Or perhaps simply the chance to say what he never said before disappearing." That night, Mr. Bello's voice, usually cheerful, carried unusual gentleness through the compound. "Zainab, I hear waiting dey happen. Whatever you decide, just make sure say you dey do am for yourself, not for him." For once, his timing carried no humor at all, only quiet wisdom. The family gathered that weekend, the same relatives who once argued fiercely over Zainab's ruined finances. "Absolutely not," Ibrahim said immediately. "Why would you go anywhere near that man after what he did?" "We've not decided yet," Amina replied evenly. "We're discussing it." "There's nothing to discuss," Ibrahim insisted. "He destroyed this family's finances and disappeared. Now that he's dying, suddenly he deserves a visit?" Hajia Comfort, quieter this time, studied Zainab carefully. "What does your heart tell you, Zainab?" "My heart says I've already survived the worst he could do to me. Going there now costs me nothing that matters." "It costs money," Ibrahim pointed out. "Flights to Australia aren't cheap." "I'll cover our flights," Amina said firmly. "This isn't a family expense. It's something Mama and I need to do for ourselves." Ibrahim looked between them, frustrated but softening slightly. "And if he tries manipulating you again? Sick or not, some men never stop performing." "Then we'll see through it," Amina said. "I'm not the same girl who once believed every word he said." Later that night, Amina worked quietly at the table, organizing documents into a folder. "What's that?" Zainab asked. "Recorder, notebook. If he's willing to confess what really happened, why he disappeared, why he lied about sending for me, I want it documented properly. Cases like his happen constantly. A documented confession could help strengthen future prosecutions against agents running similar visa schemes. 2 weeks later, their flights were booked, documents prepared, hearts uncertain but resolved. Mr. Bello appeared at the gate as they loaded their bags into the taxi. "Australia, eh? Big life for una too now," he said, grinning despite the seriousness of their journey's purpose. "Just remember, no go marry another visa man for that side, oh?" The hospital room in Perth was smaller than Zainab expected, quiet except for the steady beep of machines monitoring Jamal's weakening body. He looked nothing like the confident man who once sat across from her, discussing visa applications and future plans. His face was thin, his eyes sunken, his voice barely above a whisper when he finally spoke. "Mama Amina," he said, surprise and shame mixing in his tone. "You came." "Amina insisted we come properly prepared," Zainab said, gesturing to her daughter who stood slightly behind her, expression carefully controlled. Jamal's eyes moved to Amina, guilt visible even through his physical weakness. "I owe you an apology I don't know how to give properly." "Then start simply," Amina said, steady despite the tension in the room. "Tell us why. Not excuses, the truth." Jamal was quiet for a long moment, gathering strength for words he had avoided for 5 years. "I was frightened. The pressure was enormous, sending for a wife, providing immediately, proving myself worthy of everything your mother sacrificed. When I met Amelia, she offered stability without the pressure and expectation. I chose the easier path. I convinced myself I would explain everything eventually." "Eventually" became 5 years of silence, Zainab said quietly. "I know. I told myself lies to survive my own cowardice."
Amina's hands trembled slightly as she pressed record on her phone, positioned discreetly on the bedside table. "Continue," she said softly. "Tell us everything you never explained." Jamal spoke slowly, painfully, revealing details about the visa agent who promised faster approval for additional payment. Money quietly taken from what should have gone toward Amina's future travel arrangements. "There was no honest plan from the beginning. I always intended keeping most of what your mother sacrificed for myself, using only enough to secure my own stability." "You planned this from the start," Zainab said slowly, processing the weight of his confession. "Yes. Looking back now, it was simply cruelty dressed as necessity." Amina stepped closer, her legal training sharpening her questions. "The agent's name, do you remember it?" "Suleiman," Zainab said. "He still operates, I believe, running similar schemes for other desperate families." Amina wrote the name down carefully, another piece toward dismantling a system that had nearly destroyed her family. "Why involve Amelia?" Zainab asked. "Did she know about us?" "Not initially. By the time she discovered the truth, we were already married. She left the moment she learned everything, including my diagnosis." "I don't blame her." Zainab studied the dying van before her, searching for anger that, surprisingly, no longer burned as fiercely as she expected. "I spent years imagining this conversation," Zainab said quietly. "I imagined rage, screaming, demanding answers you refused to give. Now that I'm here, I feel something else entirely." "What do you feel?" "Relief," Zainab admitted. "Not because you are dying, because I finally understand. And understanding releases something rage alone never could." Amina stopped recording, setting her phone aside gently. "I came here angry, prepared for excuses. I didn't expect honesty. Thank you for that, at least." Jamal's eyes filled with tears. "I don't deserve your presence here, let alone your forgiveness." "Forgiveness isn't about deserving," Zainab said, surprising even herself with the steadiness of her voice. "It's about releasing weight I've carried long enough. I forgive you, Jamal, Not for your sake, for mine. Amina nodded slowly. I forgive you too. And I promise you this confession will help protect other families from men like Suleiman. As they prepared to leave, Ladi entered quietly, gratitude and grief mixing in her expression. Thank you for coming. Whatever time he has left, you've given him peace. Zainab squeezed the older woman's hand gently. We came for our own peace as much as his. 2 weeks after returning from Perth, news arrived that Jamal had passed away peacefully, his mother by his side. Zainab received the message quietly, sitting with it for a long moment before showing Amina. How do you feel? Amina asked gently. Sad, in a way I didn't expect. Not for what we lost, for what he lost, choosing fear over honesty until the very end. I keep thinking about Suleiman's name. My firm is already building a case using details from the recording. Something good will grow from this then, even now. That evening, the family gathered for a quiet dinner in the same small compound. They had never left. Older tensions finally settled into something resembling peace. Ibrahim raised his cup slightly. I owe you an apology, Mama. I called your choices foolish once. Watching you rebuild everything, I understand now, foolish was never the right word. Apology accepted, Zainab said simply, genuine warmth in her voice. Hajia Comfort smiled softly. Family survives storms, eh? Sometimes stronger for having weathered them. Kate, visiting for the celebration, raised her own cup. To Sisters Rising's newest board member, Zainab's expansion program now covers 7 communities. Board member? Amina laughed. Mama, you didn't mention that. I'm still adjusting to the title myself, Zainab admitted, smiling. Mr. Bello, predictably uninvited, leaned through the compound gate one final time, the same gate he had stood at 5 years earlier, demanding rent from a woman who had nothing left to give. I hear say another celebration dey happen again. This house don't turn celebration factory since on a return from overseas. Come and eat then instead of just supervising from the gate, Zainab called out, laughing. Finally an invitation, he said, settling in immediately, and the whole table erupted in warm, easy laughter. Later that night, Zainab stood outside, looking up at a sky full of quiet stars. She thought about the woman she used to be, desperate, trusting, devastated by one phone call 5 years earlier, and the woman she had become instead, patient, purposeful, unafraid of rebuilding from nothing. Amina joined her outside, wrapping an arm around her mother's shoulder. We survived it, Mama. We did more than survive.